Anybody like to share? Virat Prabhu, Arya Prabhu, anyone? I think then we'll go for 44th verse.
Hare Krishna, Dandava Pranam.
Yes, Madhuri. No.
I very much appreciated the analogy of the hand as a part of the whole body. And the hand gets the idea that it can function independently, so it attempts to go off on its own. And what are the results of such an action? It's
Yeah.
clearly it's not. We have free will, but if we're sensible, we realize we absolutely cannot rise to our full potential without being completely connected and integrated with Krishna's will.
Correct. Yes. So that's a very important point, because Prabhupada gives the example of finger. The finger is connected to the hand and the body, then only it has it's actually functional in its true position, in its constitutional position. The same way, as soul, when we are connected to the Lord, then only we are truly functional. That's our healthy state. Yeah. So we are always dependent on the Lord. So we like that verse is, Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamada Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. In that verse also, Krishna is complete, but we are dependent complete. So when we surrender to Krishna, then we are also complete. We'll find our completeness when we take shelter of the Lord. Okay, so let's take the today's verse. So Matthew, you can see this verses. So we have in Sanskrit and in English as well. So do you like to pronounce this? Just try if you can. So you can unmute so that I can hear you.
All right, I'm going to try my best. Tasmat.
Yes.
Pranamya.
Yes.
Pranikaya.
Yes.
Kayam.
Great. Now next somebody else can recite. Anyone? Yes.
Just the first line or the second line?
Yeah, maybe some younger devotees, Mataji, because I think you must be already accustomed.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Some younger ones.
Okay, I can prashadaye tvam.
Shadi. Yes.
Prasadi tvam aham isham idyam.
Yes. Okay. Next verse. Somebody else. Next line. Somebody else would like to.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Piteva putrasya sakeva sukhya.
Sakyu. Okay. Next. Anybody else? Anyone else would like to?
Hare Krishna, I can do it. Priya Priya Yar Hasi Deva Sodan.
Yeah. So read the somebody else can read the translation, please.
You are the Supreme Lord, to be worshipped by every living being. Thus, I fall down to offer you my respectful obeisances and ask your mercy. As a father tolerates the impudence of his son, a friend the impertinence of a friend, or a husband the familiarity of his wife, please tolerate the wrongs I may have done you.
Yeah, I'll read the purport. Krishna's devotees relate to Krishna in various relationships. One might treat Krishna as son, or one might treat Krishna as a husband, as a friend, or as a master. Krishna and Arjuna are related in friendship. As the father tolerates, or the husband or master tolerates, so Krishna tolerates. So what he says, Arjuna falls on the ground. You see, going back to the verse. Fine. So you can see here why these words are spoken by Arjuna, because Arjuna seeing the majestic, gigantic, fearsome, universal form, Arjuna is wonderstruck. And he's remembering his relationship with Krishna as friend. And he's wondering, I mean, my friend is not ordinary. I mean, he's such a great personality. So he's feeling, maybe I have committed offenses in my friendly dealings with him. That's why in the previous verse also, he says that, the previous verse. He says that, no, oh yeah, though my friend, not knowing your glories, please forgive whatever I may have done in madness or in love. I have dishonored you many times. Just resting as we relax, lay on the same bed, or sat or ate together, sometimes alone and sometimes in front of my friends. Oh, for infallible one, please excuse me for all the offenses, you can see. So here also, similarly, in the same context, and Arjuna is speaking, you are the Supreme Lord, worshipped by everyone. So I fall down to offer you my respectful obeisances and ask your mercy. As the father tolerates the impotence of his son, a friend, the impertinence of a friend, husband, the family of his wife, please tolerate the wrongs I may have done you. So this is coming from that understanding of his relationship as an intimate friend. So, but as Krishna is now showing the universal form, so he's wonderstruck. And Prabhupada gives in the purport, simple purport, that how devotee actually relates with Krishna in different kinds of rasas, like that. So Krishna also tolerates. So one important thing I wanted to share to all of you. See, any relationship in this world, there is certain amount of violence in this world. You can find that. Certain amount of violence is there in every relationship. You see that, because these relationships are not completely pure, based on selfless love. It's not there. Of course, from Krishna's side, it is completely a selfless love. When Krishna and devotee, when they are in loving relationship, so that is completely free from any violence. So Krishna completely tries to please his devotees, and he becomes slave of his devotees, and devotee wants to simply become the slave of Krishna, simply wants to follow the will of the Lord, simply want to please the Lord. So there is no violence in the relationship between Krishna and his devotees. Of course, here Arjuna, he is in this material world and playing the part of a conditioned soul. Though he is not a conditioned soul, he's not actually a member of this material world. He's a very great personality. He's an associate of the Lord. But he's, as a normal human being, he's saying that, I might have, been offending you, or I might be doing certain not appropriate dealings with you. So please tolerate those wrongs I might have done to you, like that. So, okay, this is a one point which I just told, that how in every relationship there is some violence sometimes. Like sometimes you find, that father may be unnecessarily angry with his son sometimes. Like you see Hiranyakashipu, he was having so much of violence on Prahlad. You can see that. To the degree he was demoniac, to that degree, the violence was so great as well, right? So now in this world, people may not be that demoniac in terms of individually, if you find in this world father, mother, with children relationship, that may not be that demoniac. I mean, they are not like Hiranyakashipu. But still, sometimes there are some violence. There is some love, affection. Even Hiranyakashipu had affection. When Prahlad came from his school, so Hiranyakashipu was actually smelling his head and showering affection to Prahlad. That was also there. But when as soon as he came to know that he is not willing to accept him and as the Supreme Lord and worship him, but he is rather worshipping the Lord Vishnu and chanting his name. So he was so upset, and then he wanted to immediately kill his own son. You see, so this is how, the degree we are having selfishness, our gratification in mind in that relationship, to that degree we will do some violence to that person. And so what we can do is, in any relationship, we have to have some kind of healthy boundaries and some kind of civilized, some kind of civilized way of dealings. That's important. So that creates the relationship healthy. Otherwise, there is a tendency to be violent in that relationship. There's always a tendency. So one has to be careful not to get into that zone. So, yeah. So Arjuna is actually here asking forgiveness. So another thing we can see that also when we are in its all spiritual platform, when there's a relationship of love, so a person who loves somebody else, his beloved, she always is mindful that no, am I not am I not getting any inconvenience with the person? So that kind of thoughts also is there. Because the nature of love is that you always think that maybe I'm not appropriately giving honor or love or respect to my beloved. It's always there. So there's always a feeling that actually my beloved is just tolerating. And the feeling is there. You know, and that's not some kind of negative feeling. It's actually born out of pure love. Because when you are having pure love, then you want to have so much desire to serve, and you always feel that I can always do more. And when I'm not able to do much, you feel like that. So they are tolerating. Like when you see when very beloved person visits to your house, say your loving father, mother, or anyone who is very dear to your heart when you visits, or some special guest when they visit to your house, then you always say that no, हमसे कुछ अपराध हो गया, if I have committed any offenses, you know, we have not properly served you. Though we have served so much, I mean, even though they have done a lot, but listen, if we might have not properly served you, so please forgive us. So like that. So that is also one of the aspects in a relationship. So one should always feel, that. But if the relationship goes in that kind of domain, I mean, that kind of area where we start thinking that no, I mean, I am tolerating this person, or I have done so much for that person. So then again, that relationship is not that healthy, also. So the sign of a healthy relationship is that we have that feeling also that I'm not doing much, I should do more, and I have so many flaws, but other person is actually tolerable. That kind of feeling is also there.
Right.
So any reflection till now on these points?
A small question.
Yeah.
So you say that like please tolerate the wrongs is kind of interpreted as like please forgive me for the impertinence or the impudence. Is that correct? Or like how do you like explain that part of the verse?
Yeah, correct. Yes, we can think like that. I might have been, some way violent in my relationship. We have to be always watchful in our relationship, in anyone, in our dealings. Am I trying to control? Am I trying to, too much be, some way we are having some kind of inconveniences in my gratification. So I'm being injustice to that person in some way. So yeah, so this is one of the way we can always, like, be mindful that how am I dealing with the person? Am I trying to control him? Am I trying to be being violent in some way to that person in that relationship? In trying to be exploiting him, trying to make use of him. So we have to be always watchful. So yeah. So let's hear the reflection of others also, and then we can I can come back to your question. Yes, anybody else like to have any reflection?
I think I like that Krishna has like completely selfless love. That's
Yeah.
it's warming yeah, it's comforting.
Yeah. So Krishna can never be violent to anyone. He can never be violent to anyone. That's why he is the supreme lovable person also, and he has unconditional love for all. So this is a very important news for us to contemplate that how Krishna is all loving and there is no violence. And actually, in this world, we have experienced some violence in the relationship. That's why impersonalists, they try to just come out of all the relationships. They don't want relationships because they feel that if I get into some relationship, then there is some bitter experience. Because inevitably in this world, any relationship you find some violence is there, to some degree, because to degree there is some selfishness, some kind of desire for gratification in that relationship. To that degree, there will be violence. You see, in this world, people sometimes, I mean, the so-called love, the lust, and people get into some kind of relationship, and then you see how violently they just sometimes separate, or sometimes they behave. You can see that. So that shows that that degree of selfishness was there in the relationship. That's what the lust is. Lust is we are so self-centered that way. But if you see in Vedic life, when husband and wife they would get married, married, on the by the sacred tie of marriage, and they were Krishna. That was Krishna-centered marriage, and they would live life for the purpose of advancing Krishna consciousness. Then you can see, even though there will be differences in opinions, there may be so many difference of natures, things like that, but they are able to better deal with each other. They're not that violent. And I mean, in some of the cases, you can see that how we might have seen some people that way, how they're very much ready to cooperate and tolerate and serve. Because the basis of the relationship is less of gratification, more of service. You see, correct? No? So that's a good news. So when you connect to Krishna, then you find that from Krishna's side you don't find any violence. He's always loving. He's always uplifting. Is always fulfilling relationship is there with Krishna. That's why Prabhupada would say, instead of trying to find yourself and trying to strike relationship in this world, trying to be mother of somebody, father of somebody, friend of someone, and brother of somebody, you make Krishna as your friend, Krishna as your brother, Krishna as your father, Krishna as you. And you do that. And when you do that, when your relationship with Krishna is very nicely established, then whatever roles you have in this world also, then in that role you can also act selflessly, because you are having the fulfillment of your need of love. So when that is fulfilled, then when in this world you act, then you can act with selflessness, because then you also can share that love in this world. But suppose we don't do that part of establishing our relationship with Krishna, then we are feeling empty. And when you're feeling empty, then when you're feeling empty within, then what remains is we want to just gratify senses. So by gratification, we want to fill our heart. So that's why Krishna only can fulfill the need of love for all of us. And of course, his pure representatives, his pure devotees, because they're also emulating Krishna's love. So same way, when you also receive Krishna's love in your life, then you can also share that Krishna's love with others. And that only empowers you to be selfless. Otherwise, it is very difficult to be selfless in any relationship. I can write and tell you, if somebody is not God conscious, he cannot be selfless in the relationship. It is just not possible. There is some kind of selfishness there. It may be in more goodness, like, some emotional support, things like that, but there is selfishness. And then there will be repercussion also of that. Because then when that kind of gratification is not there or things like that, then there will be some violence also in that relationship. We'll find that. So that's why it's important for us to very deeply connect to Krishna, especially by chanting the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And receiving the love of Krishna, which is coming, by Krishna's being available in the form of holy name, and Krishna's love also is coming through devotees, when they are giving us good instructions, and when they're engaging us in the service of the Lord, or when we are also receiving wonderful prasadam. It's all Krishna's love. Krishna's love we receive through all these wonderful gifts what Krishna is giving us. Krishna is giving us the gift of the holy name, gift of holy instructions, his wonderful pastimes, his wonderful devotees. So that's how when we are very rooted in our sadhana, in our devotional program, so we receive Krishna's love. The more you receive Krishna's love, the more you are enriched, and then you will not be, looking for gratifying your senses actually. When your heart is filled, then mind's craving will automatically reduce. And that mind's craving is actually, that gratification is actually because of lack of Krishna in our heart. So the degree we lack Krishna in our heart, to that degree we'll be craving for so much of gratification. You see in this world, how much people just crave for gratification, so much. So mind just keeps craving. So that's because the heart is feeling empty. So our heart may be like a puddle, but you have to make it ocean. And to make it ocean, it's not just overnight. Every day we have to work hard. And it's humanly impossible in one sense. But if we are sincerely trying, then Krishna will fill our heart with ocean. Krishna can create ocean. Krishna can make unlimited oceans. So he can create some ocean in our heart also. So ocean of love also can come in our heart also. So that's possible. So we have to receive Krishna's love. And that can help us to act selflessly in our relationships also. Sometimes people are so enthusiastic to try to work on the relationship to improve it, so many things, right? But then the point is, if you're not trying to cultivate a relationship with Krishna and you're not receiving that love, when your heart is not feeling that fulfillment and nourishment, then you will not be able to act selflessly. Correct, no? So yes, that's the point. So this is a very important principle to understand. Any other person would like to reflect? Virat Prabhu, Srinivasan Prabhu, anyone else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my reflection is that I was just inspired by Arjuna's relationship with Krishna, and how and also inspired by how I can see Krishna's love in my life by what he has given to me. So he's showing that we can get closer to him, as you mentioned, by chanting and devotee association. So we can use these ways to get close to Krishna. And I also like that. Arjuna asked Krishna to be tolerant of him for any mistakes that we have committed, and it just reminded me that we can have a very personal relationship with Krishna, and we can also ask him similar requests as well, just to be tolerant of us and accept any wrongdoings, because as devotees, we're on this path to understand him better.
Because we always feel that we don't have that much love for Krishna. That means I may be a bit violent, I may be a bit doing injustice in my relationship, because I may be having some selfishness and Krishna, I'm maybe giving trouble to Krishna. I don't have pure love for Krishna. So that's why whenever we do any service also, so there are the mantras, verses which we recite to even seek forgiveness after every service. That's mandate. So that's the nature of love. Now, when you love, then you think you don't have love. And when you think you don't have love, then you feel that maybe I might have not done the justice. I might be violent in some way in my relationship. So yeah. So the only way we can avoid violence in our relationships is the degree we become more and more receiver of Krishna's love. That degree will become selfless, and then violence can be minimized. And those who become completely pure, their love is fully blossomed. So there is no scope of any violence in that relationship with Krishna and with any living entity. But still, the nature of love is that they feel that I don't have love. So they're always having that mood, apologetic mood, that maybe I have not properly rendered service, maybe I have not done properly. So that mood is there. And that's how here you can see how Arjuna is also asking forgiveness from Krishna. Though Krishna might be fully satisfied with all, every living reciprocation of Arjuna, what he must be having with him. But that's the nature of love. Srinivasan Prabhu?
I think
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Can you guys hear me all right? I didn't know if I could go next, but
Oh yeah, Matthew, you can speak. Matthew, no
okay.
problem. You can speak.
From listening to this quote and also listening to what you were mentioning about selfishness, the thing that I've noticed is that most selfishness, I feel, tends to come from a struggle with humility. And it feels like Arjuna was able to come to Krishna and say, I don't know what kind of karma I may have collected over my life. And he still asked for forgiveness anyway. So I think that's the part that I appreciate most, is so that we can still lead this life and not know if there's karma still being collected, and we can still ask Krishna for forgiveness. And it just feels like it's a beautiful way to say we are still one with Krishna's love. So I do love that. I do love that about this quote.
Thank you, Matthew. Srinivasan Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much for this nice class. So I learned quite a few, lot of lessons from this class. To the degree we are self-centered, to the degree we are, or in other words, to the degree we don't have love for Krishna, we try to engage in sense gratification more and more. And we should be mindful of our dealings in a relationship with respect to whether we are having envy or anger. So all those things are there. So all these things arise by keeping ourselves in the center of the relationship. But if we keep Krishna in the center between the relationships of the two persons, then all those the envy or the anger may not come. There is no chance for that.
Correct.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. I like that what you said, in terms of envy, anger, lust, all that. So they become the cause of the violence in that relationship. That's true. Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, I.
My reflection is that obviously Krishna's mercy is boundless, and he shows us so much compassion, but also on our end, in our attempt to dissolve the ego and release ourselves from, sense gratification. In that journey, like the first step is accountability, and the first step is acknowledging like our faults. And I think Arjun does a really good job of that here. And he's really able to understand how to submit his ego, or defeat his ego, and submit fully to the Lord.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else? Anyone else who has not spoken? Okay. So, yeah, so coming to the original that question. So the question was that what we can do. So yes, so one thing is that we can always feel that maybe I have been not doing justice in my relationship. It's always good feeling that, because as I said, like some special guests come in our home. So then, even though we may do all our efforts to serve nicely, but we always feel that what I might have not done properly. So there's always the mood. So when that kind of mood is there, then that means the relationship is healthy also. But as I said, when we start thinking that, oh, I have done a lot, or this person is not getting so much. So basically, it's all coming from somewhere, being self-centered also. So yeah, so keeping the relationship in a healthy note would be that we feel that, probably I have been, not acting properly, and I've been violent in some way because I have not yet developed a self-esteem. So that will empower us to be able to keep the relationship going in that healthy way. Otherwise, there is always possibility that they can be violent. And the best course of action is we always dive deep in our relationship with Krishna, and that empowers us to have inner fulfillment, and then act selflessly or start growing in our relationship to become more selfless. Right. And we can learn from the relationship of Lord and his devotees. You can see that and Srimad Bhagavatam, so much of narrations about the relationship of Lord and devotees, how they are dealing with each other with complete selflessness. there is no desire to control or manipulate or exploit. It's completely selfless, you can see. So that can help us to understand. Also, we can see in the scriptures the dealing between the pure devotees, pure Vaishnavas. So how they deal also very selflessly. So that can also give us a clue. We can take lessons from there also. And then doing our program of bhakti sincerely, and simultaneously working on our lives can gradually make us more and more selfless, like that. Because it's not just some kind of seminar you attain and you get some selfless way of acting in a relationship. No, that's not something superficial. We can do it also. So we need to be very rooted in our program of devotional service. As I said, the root solution is to receive Krishna's love. And then only we are empowered to act selflessly. At the same time, we also learn by these wonderful examples of how devotees deal in a selfless way, how they don't have any violence, what is their mood. So when we see that, then we can also get some clue and can try to imbibe that in our own relationships. So I'll pause here. Thank you all so much. Hare Krishna, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Yes, Srinivas.